Welcome into the News Zone. I'm Adam Cooperstein, and right now we are in the thick of some severe weather moving into the tri-state. It's causing some minor damage already and could only get worse throughout the rest of the day. The evening commute certainly could be impacted, so we're going to make sure you're ready for it. In fact, let's start with a scene that we're getting here. Reports of damage from a couple of places across the tri-state. Take this up full. This is Yonkers, where you see a tree went down onto what looks like a shed or something attached to a house there. We're also seeing similar stories like this in the Bronx, where a tree went down onto a street. And, luckily nobody was injured in this case here, but this is in the Wakefield neighborhood. Lot of scenes like this all across the tri-state right now. So let's get to Storm Team 4's Matt Brickman. You're following this severe weather, Matt, and I know that we're expecting potential for gusty winds, potential flooding along the coast. What do we need to be worried about right now?
The heaviest rain is coming through right now, Adam. We've got a pretty rich band of rain cutting through New Jersey. I'll give you a look here on the radar, and you'll see kind of that stripe of red and purple. I'll bring it in there for you. This right here, cutting from Toms River west to Belmar, up to our radar site on the campus of Rutgers University, and then into Edison as well. So that's a pretty heavy downpour with that. You're seeing rainfall rates, radar estimated, so take it with a bit of a grain of salt here, but 2 to 3 inches an hour. And anytime you see that sort of rain, there's the potential for flash flooding. So we are getting some heavier rain bands here. You're seeing that, yep, right there again on the radar and satellite picture. There has been a little bit of lightning within this as well. And you can note the direction it's going, right? It's moving from southwest to northeast, which means that band that you're seeing down in Monmouth and Middlesex County, that's coming up into Staten Island. That's coming up into Manhattan, into Brooklyn and Queens over the next hour or two, and then we'll continue moving over out into Long Island. What I'll also note, Adam, is if you look west, there is kind of this break here where we should see things drying out as we head a little bit later on in the evening. So while I think the rain is going to get heavier in the next couple of hours, as we move a little bit later on into the evening, things are going to move east. So this then becomes a problem in Long Island, then becomes a problem in Fairfield County, Connecticut. But next couple of hours in the city, things are going to get pretty intense.
So if you are in the city or Jersey, if you can stay inside right now and just wait this thing out, that's the best and safest move, correct?
Yeah, and I know this is not a great time, right? It's 2
Right.
o'clock. Kids are going to be getting out of school here in the next hour or so. So folks are going to be doing pickup. A lot of the kids even walking home, biking home in these sorts of conditions. If you do have that option as a parent, maybe you're working from home today, where you can go and pick your kid up and keep them from having to walk home in the pouring rain with the winds, which are no joke. I mean, we are seeing reports of trees down because of these 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts. You can keep your kids from having to walk in that. I would get in the vehicle and go pick them up. Otherwise, if you don't have a child care concern, this is the sort of thing where I want you to be inside. I don't want you to be driving in this. Visibility is really poor. Just looking out any window right now, you can see how dark it is. It looks like it's dusk, not the middle of the day. So yeah, I think the worst of it coming here over the next couple of hours, and then hopefully things improve this evening.
Yeah, hang tight for 1 second, Matt, because if we can, we're watching the airports right now, which are being impacted by the storm. We've got a live look from LaGuardia, just to show what you're talking about. I don't know if, Julia, if you can pull this up, but here's LaGuardia, and you can see visibility really bad right now. We're talking about there was a ground stop a little bit earlier at JFK. They said it was because of an aircraft emergency. Not sure if it's weather related at this point, but it's a really tough day to fly. It's a tough day to be out there, like you said, picking up kids. And Matt, going back to you for a second, what do we need to think about later if people are leaving work? You told us about the next few hours. If it's 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, maybe people want to go out for the night. Do you still think it'll be bad at that point, or does it depend on where you are?
It does depend on where you are. Let's walk you through it. Okay, so here we are right now, and you can see that heaviest rain band over New Jersey, a little bit out to the west of us. And I'll jump this ahead till 4 o'clock. And you can see, it's in the city. It's in the lower Hudson Valley. It's in Fairfield. And it's starting to push into Suffolk County. But you say 6, here's 6. And the heaviest rain has moved east. It's crossed the Hudson at that point. So Connecticut, Long Island are still dealing with this. But in the city, you're drying out. And if you carry that on, it's the sort of thing I think you want to have a raincoat for. I'm not sure how helpful umbrellas will be when we've got 40 and 50-mile-an-hour winds. It's a good opportunity to break your umbrella. But by
Right.
6 to 8, we're starting to see things dry out and look a little bit better. To your point about visibility, I mean, this is Jersey City right now. You can see the rain coming down. You can see the camera bouncing around. I don't know if you can see kind of the wind turbine moving there with the breeze, and the visibility. It's under a mile in the city. It's down to a mile in White Plains. These are the sorts of numbers we get when there's like a dense fog advisory on those really foggy mornings. These are similar numbers to that. Not to mention these are really low clouds as well, which is another thing that impacts the airports as far as getting planes off the ground. So really, really difficult here right now. And we haven't even really talked about the winds yet, Adam, which we are seeing. Here you go, 40-plus-mile-an-hour gusts in spots like Islip. They're going to continue to be pretty strong down the Jersey Shore where there's a wind advisory. This goes until 5 o'clock, so just another couple hours of this. But let's check down the shore right now. Look at Sandy Hook. Almost 50-mile-an-hour winds. So, yeah, that's the sort of thing that can do some damage. And I'll just really quickly, I want to check in if we've seen any additional damage reports. I know you've mentioned a couple. And, yep, here we go. We've got a couple that have come in around Connecticut because of those winds. This little icon lets you know it's wind damage. And yeah, you've got tree branches down, blocking Hillcrest Road in New Canaan there. There's another one close by, also in New Canaan, wires down on Woodridge Circle. So, that's the sort of thing that these winds can do. I think it's probably another 2-3 hours for the worst of it. And then, like you say, 6 o'clock on is when things start to look a little bit calmer, at least close to the city.
Okay, so there is some brighter weather ahead, even though it's going to be windy. We know there could be some impacts for trick-or-treaters, and we're looking at some more issues tomorrow. We'll get to that in a few minutes, but right now, I want to get back to the airport story. Matt, thank you very much. Looking at this flight-aware misery map I just saw a second ago. Let's get this up full. Man, New York at the top of the list right now for airport impacts when you're talking about delays. 95 at LaGuardia, 22 cancellations there. Then Newark, third place right now, 7 cancellations, 66 delays. And then this is on top of yesterday there was a ground stop in Newark because of a staffing shortage from air traffic controllers related to the government shutdown and some of those air traffic controllers calling out sick. So the last thing we need right now is to have this kind of severe weather impacting our airports. Adam Cousins is at the assignment desk, and I know, Adam, you were making some calls on that aircraft emergency that caused the ground stop at JFK. That report came in just about half an hour ago. Is JFK running as normal again, and what do we know about the aircraft emergency, Adam?
Well, it's not running normal because of all the weather problems that Matt just talked about. But
the
plane did land normally. It was a Frontier plane, landed safely at JFK. There appeared to be some type of engine issue. Doesn't look like it was weather related. Don't know what it was. Nobody's hurt. That's the good thing. The bad thing is if you're trying to catch another flight somewhere else, you're probably not going to be going anywhere for a long time at JFK or Newark or LaGuardia or any of the other airports around here.
Okay, good to know. And just checking in real quick, I know you've been tracking, Matt showed us some of the storm damage reports. We've got crews, I know, heading out all over the tri-state, checking on some of this stuff. Any updates we need to know about beyond the Yonkers tree down and the Bronx tree down?
We got trees down at Yonkers, we got trees down in the Bronx, we got trees down in Woodbridge, we got trees down in Queens. It's going to keep happening. Fortunately, nothing has started a fire. Fortunately, nobody's been hurt. The roads are open for now. Hopefully there's not going to be any flooding issues later. But I think we're just going to have to wait and see how strong the winds are a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll be watching it. Okay, we'll check back if there's any reports of damage. Adam Cousins at the assignment desk. Thank you. Now, the reality is all of this that we're dealing with today pales in comparison to the damage in Jamaica and the Caribbean after Hurricane Melissa. And right now, we're going to go live, it looks like at the airport. Jesse Kirsch from NBC News is down in Jamaica. Jesse, thank you for being with us. Tell me first, what airport are you at and what are you seeing down there as they recover in Jamaica from this catastrophic Category 5 storm?
Yeah, hey, Adam, we're in Kingston's terminal, and I'll move as much as we can to give you a sense of the scene here. It doesn't really strike me as anything out of the ordinary, just in terms of how a normal airport would function middle of the day. You can see we've got people waiting at the check-in counters with their baggage. This is before security, so this is really just the beginning of the departure process for a lot of people. Nothing really sticks out to me in terms of massive customer service lines, people hoping there's a flight to get on. Obviously, a lot of it can be handled by cell phone now, right? Booking. So I don't think that's necessarily going to be something that we'll see as massively because people weren't already at the airport like they might be in a snowstorm or something like that. So general operations going well here. Someone just waving to us going by at a U.S. passport. So there are Americans here. We were on the first American Airlines flight from Miami to Kingston that was taking passengers. It was a mix of people like us. So there were reporters. There were some people from aid organizations. There were people who were trying to come home. And I spoke with a woman who said that she was in the Bahamas when the storm was coming, had to go to Miami because it wasn't safe to get back to Jamaica. So she had to ride out the storm in the U.S. while her husband and young children were here. They're all okay, thankfully. She lives in the Kingston area, but she told me her brother in Montego Bay, which of course is closer to the direct path of this storm, she lost contact with him on Monday evening and still has not heard from him. So there's ongoing, anxiety and questions for people here about getting in touch with loved ones. But I can tell you, as far as the flow of operations here, it seems to be smooth sailing, best we can tell, at the airport here in Kingston. But not everyone is so lucky to have a flight. I met a group just a short time ago from Canada. They said they were dropping someone off who was able to get out of here in Kingston. But the rest of them are going to have to wait until Sunday as of now to leave from Montego Bay. And at this point, they're hoping that flight's going to happen. So, there's still a very fluid logistical situation on the ground here, both for people who are trying to travel in and out and also for aid organizations who are trying to figure out how to get aid here. Because remember, we're on an island. One of the groups I spoke with yesterday said that it's going to take about 5 days for them to get a cargo ship here. So they're doing flights in the meantime. But, you can only bring so much and only certain types of gear in on a plane because the heavier stuff you would be trucking in or taking by boat. So certainly still a long way to go. But I can just tell you from the logistics of the airport standpoint, Adam, for people who are watching at home, wondering if someone was on vacation or someone who lives here or someone who's trying to get back here is going to be able to get in and out. All things considered, it was a pretty smooth flying situation for us. No massive delays that seem to be tied to logistics of any kind. So hopefully things will just continue to improve in terms of logistics on the ground here.
Jesse, it's been 48 hours since this catastrophic storm passed through. More than 30 people have been killed. Officials say that the death toll could rise. I know you've got a lot of work to do, but some of these scenes of devastation are just coming into a clearer picture of the scope of the damage. What are you hearing about how bad the devastation is, especially to the western part of Jamaica?
I think we still don't know. A short time ago, a press conference, authorities said that they are having a helicopter team dedicated to doing the gruesome work of having to look for the potential of people who have died. We were told by officials earlier that there were reports, unconfirmed, of more bodies. Adam, you and I, of course, have covered several natural disasters, and what often happens in the aftermath of something like this is those numbers trickle up over time because as you get to areas and you uncover areas and you get further into the disaster zone, unfortunately, more deaths can come to light. But at this point, it's unclear the extent of this. And part of that, I think, is an issue of communication and also just the logistics of getting around. I know our colleague, George Solis, and his team yesterday were trying to get around, and they could only get so far because roadways were blocked off. And there were other areas where I think authorities were stopping people from moving forward as well. So, I mean, the government itself is still trying to get a handle on the extent of the damage here. And we're hoping by this weekend, maybe that we'll be able to get in the air and get an idea of what things look like from overhead. But where we are in Kingston, by all accounts, got very lucky. This is a major population center, and the storm was well west of here. And so that definitely is a benefit because when you think about all the logistics that could be handled from a population center like Kingston, right? So hopefully this is a place that can provide aid to those in those more hard-hit areas. But again, Adam, I think at this point, just too soon to know.
Yeah, and Jamaica is certainly going to need a lot of help moving forward. Jesse, I know you're busy down there and have a lot of reports to bring us on NBC News. Thank you for being live in the News Zone. We appreciate that. Jesse Kirsch over there in Jamaica for us. Another big story this morning and another angle of it coming out in just about 45 minutes. 2 drug rings busted by federal prosecutors, and one of them is connected to a high-profile overdose death from 2023. We're talking about the grandson of Robert De Niro, Leandro De Niro Rodriguez, who died in 2023 of a fentanyl overdose. And just today, 5 people were indicted in connection to that overdose, accused of supplying the drugs that led to that deadly overdose. We have some pictures from the indictment of the pills of this alleged drug ring, and there's 2 different cases. One, the case connected to De Niro's grandson. The other one, where prosecutors say for 5 years there was basically an open-air drug market in Washington Square Park. And right here you're looking at a picture of what they allege is an overdose, where one of these people indicted was watching one of these victims go down. And this is something we've seen the feds crack down on a lot the last few years after high-profile fentanyl deaths, including Matthew Perry in California, Michael K. Williams, the actor in Brooklyn. And now we're seeing the latest drug ring busted, and the DEA, SDNY, the NYPD say they've arrested 19 people in connection to one case, 5 people indicted in this other case, and this could just be the beginning of it. Also, by the way, these drug rings, they say, are connected to gang activity as well. So that story just coming in within the last couple hours. All right, we got to take a quick break here on the News Zone. We've got some news on the New York City mayoral race coming up for you, and there's a big celebration at the American Dream Mall involving one of the greatest soccer players to ever live. We'll take you there next on the News Zone.
Being raised in the Bronx prepared me for life in a way that no other place could. Everything is earned here, nothing is given. El Condado de la Salsa, the birthplace of hip-hop, the best Italian bakeries. And our pride runs deep. Like, what other borough has its own symbol? They say the toughest men in New York are women from the Bronx. And this Bronx woman gives it to you straight every morning.
Darlene Rodriguez, Bronx native. Watch the only all-local team on Today in New York.
To date, Better Get Vaquero has recovered over $16.9 million. How much will you save?
Watch Better Get Vaquero on News 4 New York and reach out to us at NBCNewYork.com/gethelp if you have a consumer problem.
Welcome to New York Live, where we bring you the very best of the tri-state every weekday.
New York Live is your go-to guide for everything fabulous.
Royal experience awaits you.
Get the scoop on the hottest restaurants.
I'm really enjoying myself.
Trendiest spots and hidden local treasures.
This is way more fun.
So you can dive right into the action.
New York Live is your ticket to all things amazing. Weekdays at 11:30 on NBC4 New York.
I've spent most of my career in New York. And during my years at WNBC, covering breaking news, when that plane crashed, it was in the teens out here by the Hudson. I got to know the tri-state and the people who make it so great. What happens in New York matters to the world. And what happens around the world impacts us here. Our job is to help make sense of it and get to what it all means for you.
For NBC News, I'm Tom Yamas.
And that's what we do every night.
NBC4 and Telemundo 47 are proud to serve our community. Since 2018, we've awarded nearly $2 million to local nonprofits through the NBCUniversal Local Impact Grants. NBC4 and Telemundo 47. Together, we are working for you.
Welcome to the News Zone. We've got some new polls in the New York City mayoral race. Early voting underway. We've got the actual election just days away, the election day. And Zohran Mamdani, according to the polls, has a pretty comfortable lead, including one of the polls showing him widening the gap between him and Andrew Cuomo. This is the Marist poll that's pretty new. And the Democratic nominee, Zohran Mamdani, according to this poll, leads Cuomo by 16 points, with Curtis Sliwa trailing both of them at 16% of the vote. And then they also showed in these polls that if it did become a one-on-one race, which doesn't seem like it's going to, Curtis Sliwa has said he's not getting out of the race. If it did become a one-on-one race with Mamdani and Cuomo, it would be within 7 points, but still Mamdani with the lead. The Emerson poll is interesting too. Let's go to Andrew Siff, political reporter, covering it all for us. He's nice and dry inside the vehicle today. Smart choice, my friend. I know you're out there covering the candidates. First off, where are you today, right now?
Well, we were in Harlem, where former Governor Cuomo campaigning with Mayor Adams yet again. This is their third time campaigning together. More on that in a moment. My colleague Melissa Russo was in Brooklyn with Zohran Mamdani. We're headed over to a polling place. It's the 6th day of early voting, and an interesting test today because the weather is pretty miserable. You wouldn't be surprised if for the first time since early voting started, there was a notable dip today. Nobody would be surprised. You can always make up for it when the weather gets better on the weekend. We'll find that out later on today. But you were just talking a second ago, Adam, about the Emerson poll. This Emerson poll has Mamdani at 50% and Cuomo at 25%, a 25-point lead. Now, Team Cuomo and Cuomo himself said they don't believe that poll for 1 second. They don't believe the 25 points. They don't believe the Marist poll of 16 points. They're willing to entertain the Quinnipiac poll that came out yesterday that shows Cuomo 10 points behind. Whichever poll you think is the most accurate, Cuomo acknowledges he's the one behind right now. What they want to see is continued high turnout among older voters and traditional voters between now and Sunday, and then a strong election day turnout. They believe they can make up the gap, and they believe that support for Curtis Sliwa will collapse at the end. It's basically, okay, Sliwa's not going to drop out, but voters will sort of drop him out for them. That's what they're hoping for. That's what they're thinking about. And that's sort of the word on the ground about these polls today, Adam.
Okay, interesting. And we're also watching a few other things. You talked about the turnout. For New York City standards, we traditionally have very low turnout among big cities. New York is always near the bottom of all those lists. The turnout from early voting, what can we glean from that? What does that mean that it has been higher than previous early turnouts from either the primary or the past election?
Couple things. Number one, we don't know to what degree people are just getting more and more used to early voting, and maybe we'll see fewer people on election day proper, that maybe it's just becoming where people vote. That's number one. Number two, keep in mind in New York City, usually the race for mayor is the Democratic primary. There usually isn't much of a challenge in the general election, which is why general election turnout is pretty low. For example, 4 years ago, Eric Adams against Curtis Sliwa, Eric Adams won something like 68% to 31%. It was a landslide. It was never thought to be close, and as a result, there wasn't that much turnout in the general election. This one is much more contested. People are comparing it to 1993, when it was David Dinkins against Rudy Giuliani, when there was intense public interest across the 5 boroughs. So some of what you're seeing is this is the first time there's been intense public interest across the 5 boroughs in about 30 plus years. And that's why people are saying, even if it's not a record turnout for a New York City general, because it probably won't be, it's a robust enough turnout that the conversation piece won't be, why was turnout so incredibly low?
Yeah, and you can just feel it anecdotally. You walk around the streets, you talk to people. People are talking about the general election in New York City in a way that they haven't for a long time. So it's keeping all of us very busy, including you, Andrew Siff. We appreciate the reporting out there on the ground on this mayoral race. Thank you. Let's check back on the weather. Storm Team 4's Matt Brickman has been telling us about this severe weather, the storms that are coming through over the next few hours. But Matt, we're also watching trick-or-treaters, Halloween tomorrow. I know your kids and mine and a lot of parents are wondering, can we let them go out there in costumes without a coat or a rain jacket? What do we need to do?
I think a rain jacket, not necessary. A coat's going to be a good idea. It is going to be cold, still going to be windy as we get into the day tomorrow, once all this rain moves through, which I think should happen in the next couple of hours. Let's take a look at those winds right now. They're out of the east at the moment, which is causing some coastal flooding concerns, and that'll be the case here through the afternoon, evening, especially out through Long Island. But as we get into the day tomorrow, those winds start to calm down, and then they turn later in the day. They'll pick up. Look at these. Some of these numbers tomorrow might be even stronger than what we see today, Adam. 40 to 50 mile an hour winds. That's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But as we head later in the evening, trick or treat time, it's 7 o'clock there, we're still 30 to 40 miles an hour. So, you know, maybe a windbreaker. You kind of go with the 90s look and get yourself like a full windbreaker jumpsuit. That could be a nice and efficient costume in these conditions. Temperatures are going to be in the 50s here. It will feel colder than that, though, because of the wind. So it's one of those things where it could be worse, right? It could be today. It could be the rain and the wind. But, you know, you're going to want to dress in layers tomorrow and just know that the wind is going to be a constant.
Yeah, it's a bummer. Nobody wants to go out with the jacket that ruins their Halloween costume, of course. So the Village Parade, which is happening in the evening, trick-or-treating in the evening, it's not like there's a better time to go out and trick-or-treat or to go out for Halloween. This is throughout the night, you think?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it does look like the worst of the winds are earlier in the day, like 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. So, those littler kids that go out trick or treating while it's still light out, they're probably going to deal with worse winds than, anybody that might be out 7, 8, 9 o'clock, partiers that are going to be out later in the evening on Friday night. Conditions actually improving as we approach midnight on Friday night. But yeah, the afternoon, the wind's going to be whipping. The good news is we will be dry by then, but the wind's going to be something we deal with all evening.
Okay, so the wind, tie down those pumpkin decorations, the skeletons. We don't want that stuff going flying.
Good point.
Right? Yeah.
That's a very good point. Those big inflatables too. Those are going to be dealing with the winds if they're not already flying down the street today.
All right, you gave me a great idea, by the way. I'm going to a 90s Halloween party. Windbreaker, baby. That's going to be perfect and also comfortable with the weather conditions tomorrow. Real quick, actually, looking ahead, I know we only got a few seconds here. Marathon Sunday, looking at the weekend, looking great for runners, but cool, right?
Yeah, actually, I mean, having run this race slowly a few years ago, this is the sort of thing you hope for. It is a little chilly in the corrals when you're starting out in the mid 40s there, but the sun is shining, winds are light, no real rain chance to deal with. It's actually going to be the sort of thing that's great for runners and great for spectators. You will, want to bundle up if you're going to be standing out there for a couple of hours cheering on the runners, but that's about as good as you can hope for if you're going to be out there for 26.2 miles, crossing 5 boroughs. That's the sort of weather you want.
Yeah, we'll just need some layers if we're going to go out and cheer for the runners. Matt Brickman, thank you very much. Appreciate the weather forecast. We've got something fun going on at American Dream Mall. We're going to take you there live right now. Veronica Contreras is at a celebration and a soccer match that's involving some celebrities and some legends that is celebrating Diego Maradona's 65th birthday. He would have been 65 today, Veronica. And you know this, that a lot of young people say Messi is the greatest Argentinian player of all time. But for the old school fans, Diego Maradona was like a god. And it looks like he's bringing out a lot of excitement at American Dream.
Yeah, Adam, good afternoon. This is amazing. A lot of kids from the ages 8 to 14 so far. We have a few here who are, so we were just talking about that. Let me see your jersey. Let me see. ¿Quién tienes atrás?
Oh,
Maradona.
they got Maradona.
Yeah. We were just talking and I asked them, I said, who's Maradona? When you think of Maradona, they have learned from their parents. So who's Maradona?
Maradona is the best player better than Messi and Ronaldo.
The best player better than Messi and Ronaldo. Who's Maradona? The best in the world. The best player in the world. So definitely, this is going to be a nice event. People are going to come, kids. They're going to have soccer clinics. They're going to have a lot of legends coming today to sign autographs. You can see now, I don't know, like I'll say hundreds of chairs around the soccer field here. They're going to have Mario Kempes, who was a World Cup champion from Argentina in 1978. Pibe Valderrama, who's also a very famous Colombian soccer player. Higuita, who's right here. We have someone with that jersey. Also a famous Colombian soccer player. Sorin, Sergio Goycochea, who played in the World Cup. So it's going to be like a nice event where they could meet the legends of soccer. They're going to be signing autographs. They're going to be playing a soccer match here. All those legends that I mentioned, they're going to be playing here in match. Not 45 minutes like we're used to seeing a soccer match. They're saying they're just going to have a lot of fun, 30 minutes. They'll take a break, 15-minute break, raffles. This is a nice event for families, for kids to come and meet superstars. But like you saw, Adam, definitely the little kids are learning who was Maradona, who was Pelé. And now, obviously, Messi and Ronaldo. Yes. You see a lot of jerseys with their name as well.
I only got 30 seconds, Veronica, but this is inside the mall? It's shocking to me you're inside a mall.
Yes, let me show you a little bit. It's exactly around the mall. They did this soccer field. You can see the second floor, third floor, all the stores. So yeah, this is the inside, which is nice because it's like raining outside like we saw earlier. So definitely nice to be in here. They also have information about the Cosmos, the team who's coming back next year. We'll see jerseys with Pelé. But this is a nice soccer event for all, kids, adults, for me as well. So it's nice to be here inside.
I grew up watching Maradona, so I understand. Veronica, thank you so much for bringing us that live look there from American Dream Mall. And if you are heading out there, be careful on the roads with the weather we talked about earlier. Be safe, try to stay dry, And thank you so much for watching News Zone. I'm Adam Cooperstein. See you next time.